Yeah, I'll let, 10 minutes. I'll let you go because I'm going to cover this quickly and then waifu battle. So I want to talk about Indiana Jones because Indiana Jones is an interesting dilemma. It's an interesting situation. So number one, Indiana Jones, not really doing that well. Indiana Jones right now. You know what? Let me check Steam DB really quick before I talk my shit. Let me just get an accurate number really quick. Hold on. Great circle. All right, so it's the same thing. Okay, so
I was gonna say just real quick. People are saying it's bombing. This is one of the games where I actually wouldn't look at Steam charts to say it's bombing because if I'm gonna play it, I'm gonna just get Game Pass and play it. Like that's.
Yeah, but that's a bomb though. That's the problem. Like with Game Pass, it's antithetical to an actual game success. That's the issue. 100%. Where these games are losing thousands of retail sales, and people are playing them for 1/6 of the price that they could be playing them for,
and then canceling at the end of the month.
Yeah,
gamers are cheap as fuck. Like you're not gonna pull one over a gamer.
But that's what I mean. Like this is the problem. So only it had a concurrent number of 12,138. So let's say that's, I don't know, 100,000 sales, give or take, right? If you really want to estimate about 100,000 sales, that might be a little high because they have it as a little bit lower. But let's say 80 to 100,000 sales. At the end of the day, bro, first off, the budget's massive for this game. I know that. Okay. Right. Not just because it's a Bethesda, published game and Machine Games made it, but because it's the Indiana Jones IP. You know what I mean? Like it's not cheap. It's not cheap to get it. So number one, budget is pretty fucking high for this. Number two, yeah, I know a lot of people are playing it on Game Pass, sure. But that doesn't really help the fucking game, though. That just helps Game Pass. And at the end of the day, most of the people playing this probably already had Game Pass. It's not like many people are going to be subbing up just to play this game unless maybe they're a streamer and they want to play it and then dump it afterwards. But that's really it. Most of the people who are playing it already had Game Pass. So they're not really garnering many new subscriptions from this.
True. I think what it comes down to, and this is kind of the unfortunate side of the business world, is the executives are pushing Game Pass because that's the promise that they made to the investors of it's going to be hockey stick. It's just going to go straight up. Everyone's just going to do this. And they don't even care about the sales when they get to that point because they care about the streaming numbers. It's turned into a streaming world. So right now, at the end of the day, when it comes to a conference call and the earnings, they're like, we had a 40% leap in subscriptions for this period of time. And it gets all the investors all excited. It's like, yeah, but your net earnings are way down. Like what are you doing here?
There's also a couple of interesting things to look at here. So number one, this is the reverse of Marvel Rivals, right? Where this game has a ton of followers, 62,000 followers on Steam, but only hit 12,000 concurrent. That's really odd to me. Just like Marvel Rivals had 80,000 and then it ended up hitting 450,000. So it's the complete opposite situation. Number two, it's number 5 top seller on Steam right now, which again, that's not really that, clearly that doesn't mean much then.
Well, Marvel's gonna. Well, top. Does Marvel count? Is it free to play? Is it?
No, I'm just saying in general. When you look at the follower numbers, normally it's a good indication.
What are the 4 in front of it? I'm wondering though. Does it give you that information? I'd be curious. I can check it myself actually while you're doing this.
Yeah, check that. And also too, the conversation around Indiana Jones is apparently that it's a pretty good game. Right, yeah. Like people are liking it. The general sentiment is that it's not the most amazing thing in the world, but it's not bad either. It's not woke for a lot of people that are playing the game as well. So it's kind of the opposite of what the general sentiment was. Because to be honest with you, and this is why I constantly tell people that the overall way that you market a game and certain things that you say and do are not that good for the overall outlook of your game. When you have somebody who's clearly ideologically driven in your trailer deciding to say that the game is going to be made for the modern audience while rocking a rainbow flag fucking logo t-shirt, yeah, people are probably going to think that the game is most likely going to be ideologically driven in some way, shape, or form, especially when that person was a lead writer.
Plus, when you combine it where there's a girl that you're forced to play at in an Indiana Jones game, it's like, what are we doing? What?
Right.
But just a heads up. So Fifth place really isn't that bad. It's a little bit deceiving because the number one selling game is the Steam Deck, which is
Okay.
it's just a console.
Okay.
Number two is Path of Exile, which makes sense. Number three, Marvel Rivals, free to play. Number four, Counter Strike 2, free to play. So it's really the number two games that cost money. Path of Exile 2, and then
But only 12,000. Then if that's like, I don't understand how this being
you know
number
what it
two
is?
on.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. This is the dumbest mark. They got so greedy. The dumbest marketing strategy where it's open if you spend extra money to start playing it on the weekend. And then it's open for everyone on what day is today? Tuesday?
Tuesday, yeah.
Like make it so it's open to people that spend extra money for a Tuesday and then it opens for everyone on a Friday. Like what were
I
they
guess
thinking? Like, you know what I mean?
it's the monetization gatekeep. They wanna gatekeep it obviously to try to push people to get early access. And
But I go back to my original point. Gamers are cheap as fuck, and you're only hurting yourself by doing stuff like that. I wish I could just like grab these executives by the suit and shake them and be like, stop doing these stupid things.
yeah, they don't give a fuck. They don't care. It's whatever they could do to try to convince people to pay for early access. It's what they're gonna do. But I just don't understand.
But up to and including spiting their own nose and shooting themselves in the foot. Sorry, Kata.
Yeah, unfortunately, R.I.P. Kato. So this whole thing just doesn't, and the numbers going down actually, which is crazy. The numbers going down from 12,000, now it went to 10,000, and it's starting to go down. And again, people are saying the game is good. I've heard people say it's slightly above
I
average.
want to play it. That's my next 2-play game. I do want.
I've never cared about Indiana Jones like that, so I'm not going to pick it up. But I gotta ask the question because again, if this game is number 2 on Steam sales and it's only doing 12,000, something's wrong in my opinion. And then it starts to beg the question: is there something wrong with the game? Which I don't know because again, I'm not playing it, so I have to ask the people in the chat maybe. And I'm watching other YouTubers play it. I know Vera Dark is streaming it. Is there something wrong with the game that's making people not want to buy it? Which I don't think that's true because we're still in the first.
It's the FOMO. People have FOMO for Marvel Rivals right now, so everyone and their mother wants to play that game, and it's free.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
You don't believe that?
Nope.
Okay.
Two totally different games. Totally different games. If somebody wants to play Indiana Jones, they will stop playing their free-to-play game to go buy that and play Indiana Jones if they really wanted to play it.
But I agree to that to a certain extent, but there's some crossover with this Venn diagram. It's not two wholly separate circles.
I don't know. I don't think Marvel Rivals is the thing that's keeping this game down. I think ultimately what it is.
I gotta check it right now. There's like what 400,000 people playing it right now.
I think ultimately what it is that Indiana Jones, the game, unfortunately came out after the movie and not before. I think the movie has tarnished the overall view of Indiana Jones, and I definitely think that there is some level of tie in here. I think Disney unfortunately fucked Indiana Jones with their latest movie and people's overall look into it, and then they take that movie and then they look at some of the way that they were marketing this game for the modern audience, and they start thinking, oh, there's a little bit of a tie-in here. I wonder if Disney's involved. Obviously, they had to buy the IP from Lucas, so I wonder if Disney's involved. Then they start putting that together and like, you know what? I'm going to skip it, or at least I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until I see a YouTuber play it or get a review and see how it's doing from there. But I genuinely believe that Indiana Jones, the latest movie, really fucked this game. If this game came out before that movie, I feel like it would have did a lot better. Back when Indiana Jones was in a much better place, at least from an IP standpoint.
I hesitate to agree just because we don't have the Game Pass, not the amount of subscribers or people buying it, but just the amount of people playing it on Game Pass. If I saw those numbers and if they showed something similar to this, I'd be like, okay, you're definitely right. But I'm leaning towards that. That's where everyone's playing it right now is via.
I don't doubt that. I do not doubt that in the slightest. I'm sure Game Pass numbers are in the like low hundreds of thousands, most likely.
Easily.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, that don't mean shit because I do not believe that Indiana Jones is a game that makes someone say, yep, you know what? I never had Game Pass before, but I need it now. I don't believe that unless they're a streamer or somebody who needs it for content or whatever. I
Sure.
just don't believe that. I don't see that as that kind of a game. If somebody said, "Oh, Black Myth Wukong's releasing day one on Game Pass," yeah, for sure, I can see that kind of a game pushing Game Pass subscriptions, but not Indiana Jones. That's going to be very few people.
Could you also see it maybe from, this is a weak argument, but let me throw it out there and see what you think. Marvel Rivals, I know you said they're different
Yeah.
audiences, but just go with me. It's a free to play game. We're coming up on the holiday season, so maybe people have it on their Christmas list and they're waiting to get it for Christmas or give it to people on Christmas, and more people will physically have the copy of it later this month, whereas right now they can play free to play games while they're waiting, potentially.
Well, let's see. Is there any way to see the wish list? Where is this game on wish list for Steam right now? Is there any way to see that?
Maybe on Steam. I don't know.
I feel like there was a way to see that. Is there any way to see that? I don't think so. I don't see it anymore. Everybody's saying no in the chat. Okay, never mind. I thought there was. I thought there was a way to see it. Okay, never mind. So you can only see top sellers. Okay,
But it's a lot
I mean,
to ask to have someone spend $70 on
it's a lot of money, dude. I'm telling you, and I hear that while the game is good, it's also just kind of there. Like it's not exactly a super exciting game for a lot of people. Sure, there's moments that make it feel like you're in a movie or whatever, but ultimately, it looks nice.
Here's the
It's
problem.
short. I hear it's very short. I don't know if that's true, but I hear it's short. Which again, $70 for a short game.
Well,
I don't know.
here's the problem. I think everyone would agree with this. I never really I never jumped on that train of being okay with the games making the $10 leap. Of like, I'm still in my mind, I'm still old school. Like, where's the $59.99? Like when I see the $69.99, I'm like, I feel like I'm getting like additional content and bonus stuff, a steel case. Like, what? No, I'm just getting the vanilla game for 70 now. Nah, I can
Yeah.
just wait. I got a backlog of games, and they're competing against, like we were literally talking about like 20 minutes ago. I haven't played Mass Effect, dude. I'm like, I have it, and I can get it for $5 used if I didn't have it. Like, that's what it's competing against right now. Why
I
would
don't
I
doubt
go?
that, man. I don't doubt that, man. I really don't. But that kind of adheres to my point about this game not being the game that somebody's gonna run out there and be like, "Yep, I got to sub to Game Pass for this. I have to. I have to play Indiana Jones." You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like Call of Duty's that game. When Call of Duty was on Game Pass and still is, people were subscribing left and right to play Call of Duty.
true.
But they're not gonna do that for Indiana Jones. It's not that kind of a game. It's not that kind of an IP, especially not anymore because Disney fucked it. I really do believe that Disney fucked over Indiana Jones big time, and
Mhm.
we are seeing the ramifications of that. It's kind of the reason why I put it in the same boat. And this is how you gotta know it's pretty sad. I put it in the same boat as the Star Wars games, right? Because the Star Wars games, like Outlaws, for example, I
Yep.
mean, look at Outlaws. Outlaws didn't do that well either.
Right.
Outlaws, for all intents and purposes, tanked big time because their budget was just too massive and 1 million sales wasn't enough.
Right.
And look what it did on Steam. Outlaws, what did Outlaws do on Steam? I don't remember. Star Wars Outlaws. Let me see. Now, granted, it came out later on Steam because they wanted to do that exclusive bullshit like idiots.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, look at this shit. 24.92 all-time peak with 643 people playing right now. I mean,
It's so bad.
and this is a Star Wars game. Star Wars
And it just
open
came out.
world game.
It just came out like a month ago.
I know. That's
And they just had
my point.
DLC with a whole bunch of new stuff and additions to it. That's so
Exactly.
bad.
That's my point, man. This game, like, I put it in the same boat. I really do. And this is, to be fair, the numbers that Indiana Jones is getting is probably what this game would have gotten if it released day one on Steam, but they were fucking stupid and they didn't do that. But I really do believe that this overall interest, this level of interest, while it's not bad, if you were maybe a double A or indie game, it's fucking terrible for an Indiana Jones game with a massive budget. It just is.
Again, we're gonna circle argument here. I'm gonna argue that I don't think it's as terrible because we don't know how many new people. I know you're making the argument if people aren't gonna be buying Game Pass for it unless they're streamers. Okay, I get that, but we don't know because this is one of those games that's hiding a lot behind the scenes. We don't know. It looks bad right now. I'll give you that, and it
Yeah.
appears if you just look at this, be like it is a flop. If this is all it was, but this is one of those major Game Pass games. That's the way I've looked at it. I would not spend $70 on this. I wouldn't.
So I'm going to concede and agree that it definitely is a Game Pass game. I'm not saying it's not a Game Pass game. But what I'm saying is that I just don't see how this is the game that's going to make people want to go and subscribe to Game Pass. And so because of that, I don't see how they're going to make their money back even remotely close. Because if it was a game that could convince me to subscribe to Game Pass, then that would be something different. But this is a game that people are saying to themselves, you know what? I'll wait. I'll play it later. It's going to be on Game Pass. Fine. I'll wait. I'm not even going to buy it. It's okay. Imagine how many people said that.
Yeah.
And they're choosing not to buy this game that could have potentially been retail sales if Game Pass didn't exist. But
that's where I am
it is.
100% in lockstep agreement with you. I feel like Game Pass is a terrible thing for the game industry. They're trying too hard to turn themselves into a Netflix, Disney Plus. It doesn't work with gaming. We've been saying it since they started launching this. It's like, no, you can make it work by losing money on it, and gamers will buy into it. And then when you start raising the price, people are going to jump out, and then it just collapses. It doesn't work. You can't.
Well, they're trying to do the Uber model, right? So Uber did the same thing. Uber,
exactly.
When Uber released their app, they did it at a loss, a pretty big loss, and they operated like that for a long time. With the understanding was that they wanted to create a service that people were going to rely on. So they purposely made it super cheap to destroy the competition, to get people reliant on the product, get people reliant on the app. And then after they were reliant on it, after a couple of years, they kept raising the price little by little by little by little until eventually now they're pretty profitable, and people need Ubers. Like they not need, but you know what I mean? Like it's just so easy. Like they sold convenience to people. That's really what they did. They sold convenience to people.
They did.
But I don't see how that's going to work here in gaming. It just doesn't make any sense. The budgets are too big, right? They're way too big. DLCs are also a selling point for the games, and now they're putting DLCs on Game Pass too. So what the fuck is the point? Like, I can understand if you're going to put the main game on Game Pass and then say, you got to pay for DLC. That way you kind of, sell them to him cheaper in the beginning to bait him in and then get money for the DLC. But you're not even doing that. DLCs are included in all this shit. So I mean, what are we doing? It just doesn't make sense. The whole scale, anyway, doesn't matter.
No, I hear you. Yeah, I don't really know what to add to this because we don't have all the information. That's why I'm just like, I'll just keep going in circles if we keep talking about it.
No, I know. I like spurring conversations like this because when we see something like this happen, it's not that often, right? When we see a game that people think are it's going to be woke or bad or whatever, ends up not being woke, or for all intents and purposes ends up not being bad, and there's no support for it. That's very odd. That doesn't usually happen too often. Normally, when people find out about a game, especially a AAA game with an IP that's established like this to some extent, when they find out about it, usually you see some modicum of support. But I don't see it.
They did everything they could to hurt that, though. From the early launch,
that's their fucking fault.
What's that?
That's their fucking fault.
100%. That's what I'm saying.
Advertising stop advertising the way that you fucking do. Retarded.
No, they did it all wrong. Yeah, exactly. 100%. But let me ask you real quick before you move on from this. Did you have, in retrospect, like an estimate guess on where you thought this would be at this point with the numbers on it?
I'll be fair. I didn't think it was going to be very high. I thought 25K, 20 to 25K.
Right.
I thought.
What'd you say? 20?
I was really thinking around 20, and that's just because I thought I guess I didn't realize just how affected the Indiana Jones IP overall is because of Disney. And as I started really looking at it and thinking about it, I'm like, man, the last movie really fucked over this IP. They really did. And I wonder what this game would have did if it came out before the last movie. I feel like if it came out before the last movie, it definitely would have been much better. Not glowing, not like hundreds of thousands, but I definitely think it would have been better. But unfortunately, the last movie probably turned off a lot of people that would have said, oh man, I'll be super excited for an Indiana Jones game. Now they're like, no, I don't give a fuck. But also, who knows?
Also, like, at least Star Wars has some relevancy with The Mandalorian and stuff like that, where the modern audience is at least aware of the brand. Whereas Indiana Jones is like, no one, unless you're like our age, like, or older, you're not going to really know Indiana Jones.
Right. I mean, listen, it is what it is, man. Like, Star Wars obviously is a lot bigger than Indiana Jones, but still, they're both Lucasfilm at the end of the day, and you have some diehard indie fans out there. And I feel like that last movie really screwed over a lot of them, in my opinion. But who knows? I mean,
I
again,
heard such bad things about it that I didn't even bother watching it, and I'm a
it was
huge
pretty, it
Indiana
was pretty
Jones fan.
bad. It was
Yeah,
pretty bad from what people said. So
people like, if you love Indiana Jones, just don't watch that movie. And I was like, all right, fair enough, I won't.
I mean, I saw some clips from the movie with the female protagonist that works alongside Indy, and it's all I needed to see, basically.
So
It's
they're
pretty
doing
bad.
it back then too with the DEI. Cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Hollywood was doing this for a while, and,
They have to
and
do
then the
it first.
gaming and
Yeah, good
the
point.
gaming industry was like, hold up, wait a minute.
We can do that too.
There's us too. We got this too. So it is what it is. All right, Smash. I'm gonna catch up on super chats. Do you want to stay for that, or do you want to go?
I gotta hop. I gotta eat, and I gotta get ready for my stream in 20. So yeah.
All right, sounds good. You're gay. That's fine. No problem. Tell everybody where you're gonna be.
I'll be on my channel in 20 minutes if you want to see me there. Hopefully, I do.